Welcome to another fabulous edition of Meet the Tech Titans Season 2, which is brought to you, of course, by Hutch. Thank you so much to Hutch for being a part of this podcast series. And we are also coming to you from CoLabs at Mireka Towers at Havelock City, and a fabulous venue for you to obviously co-work, and great facilities all available for you at CoLabs from Havelock City. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is something very interesting, though. And considering the fact that the world of fintech has evolved on a very, very fast pace, lots of products that are actually coming out, lots of fintech products coming out, lots of banks obviously adding on to different features as far as their apps are concerned. Are people using it? Are they not using it? What is the adoption rate? That's what we're actually going to get on the show today, as we're talking to Damitha Silva. Of course, he is the AVP of Product Lifecycle Management of NDB Bank, who is on the show with us. Some very, very interesting things we're talking about, because NDB in Sri Lanka has actually been in the forefront of introducing many innovations as far as digital fintech products are concerned. Damitha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shek. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being a part of the show. So before we get into the nitty-gritties of what we're talking about, for someone who's completely outside the banking world, looking at the show right now, and to just simplify what you do as far as the product lifecycle management, or the AVP of product lifecycle management is concerned, what do you do?
Thank you, Shek. I think mainly the banking has transformed significantly where it was and today. So when it comes to products, predominantly the retail-focused products, but also business banking, SMEs, and the corporate. But if you look at the retail and the business banking segment, my task is mainly looking at refining and getting the digital flavor into the products. If I may elaborate it a little bit, now recently, as I mentioned, we came up with fantastic, another innovative products targeting the teenage, 13 to 18,
right,
where we wanted to give them the access to mobile banking app. So generally, if you look at earlier, it will be another savings product, maybe with a debit card. That's it. But now with the product lifecycle management, we're actually looking at all the touch points, and also we get the digital part into it, so that it will become more vibrant and a more marketable product.
Right, and more market-friendly.
Market-friendly product.
Right.
Customer-friendly product, yes.
So, Damitha, let's get into the real issue at the moment. We often hear about lots of digital banking features being launched, and but adoption is a whole different game. It's all well and good when features are launched onto apps, but in terms of getting the customers to accept that feature, that's a completely different game out there. Why do you think there is such a gap between the adoption and the acceptance of the features?
Yeah, so 2-3 things, but mainly, Shek, I think what we have realized is that the app needs to target, app should come from either from the customer's pain point,
right,
or there should be a real demand, or we can create the demand. So if we don't look at the customer touch points or the real pain points, and if your solution or the app is not catering to that, it will be very difficult to drive adoption. As you identified, the banks or the financial institutions, they are boasting about the number of features.
Right.
Actually, what matters is not the number of features you have, but what does it mean to your end client? From the client's perspective, is this app helping me to perform my day-to-day transactions, and what are those critical transactions? How many screens I should move in within the app. So those are some primary cardinal, I would say, points when we need to think about when we come up with an app. So adoption is a very critical factor even in our bank, right? When we look at the penetration is great, but we really look at the adoption rate, it is not significantly high. So this is something I would say common in the industry. But currently, more than the penetration, actually what we are driving is the adoption. So I think we have done a couple of changes. Maybe we actually did a research recently, very qualitative, quantitative one, and some of the things, and it was very interesting. The customers are actually not looking at so many features, but they want their app to give them that power to customize it. Maybe,
Right.
for example, check, let's say your favorite features are bill payments or the fund transfers.
Worst feature, bill payments,
payments,
not
yeah.
a favorite
That's
feature at all.
So, yeah. So, out of maybe 10 features, you would like to maybe give some prominence to those 10 features within, the upfront.
The moment you,
The
moment you
moment
log in.
log in.
Right.
Yes. So, that's the kind of simple things. Those are not big ask actually. But from the bankers or the design perspective, I think if you're really looking at from the technical perspective, you will not get that customer feelings.
Right.
So I think it's a matter of bridging this gap. The moment someone identifies it and bridges it, I think there will be a great adoption.
Now, when NDB comes up with a new feature in any of the on your app, what actually sort of leads the way? Is it the market trend, or is it a customer demand, or is it internal business purposes?
Good question. Very good question. Actually, few years back, we were also in the forefront of coming up with some innovative features. But as time passed, we identified when currently what we are mainly looking at is the outcome, or rather what does feature mean to our customers or the business. So that particular point should be very well established. So it could be maybe that feature will bring out efficiency, or maybe the income or the revenue, or maybe that will help us to really drive the internal process efficiencies.
Right.
So it may be internal, external, both. So that is the fundamental one. And secondly, we also look at how, if let's say, for example, customer's point of view, whether after bringing this feature, my customer base segments, whether they will be happy to embrace it, to what does it make in terms of making their life better. I will tell one example. Now, recently we have observed now some of the business banking segment, right?
Right.
I think we are still the only bank in Sri Lanka to come up with the app focusing on the SME business banking category.
Right.
How that came up was very interesting. When we looked at number of transactions that are happening at the counters, over the counters, or manual, it was very high in the business banking segment. Why? When we dig deep, the reason is these are small people, small timers. They are doing their entire maybe 24 out of 24 hours, 18 hours, they are stuck with their business.
Right.
They don't have actually time to get into the bank. And the corporate internet banking solution is too complex and sometimes too costly as well. So, but these guys are always having mobile, smartphones. So we wanted to simplify the number of the critical transactions they want to perform, maybe a salary payments, fund transfers, supply payments, and with a simple authorizer structure, maybe an inputter and authorizer. So we came up with this. So we see a good traction and the adoption because that caters to the particular problem of the market.
Right.
And similarly, we have also seen, Digital is not only coming up with great features with Apple, we have also seen when it comes to, of course, we want to drive for cashless society or less cash society, but at the same time, we need to understand there is a significant of business happening with cash.
Right.
Now, against this sector, though they didn't have a time, we want to look at how we can get them in, how we can basically drive the bank inside of it, and how we can attract the cash. So we came up with the bank to product, meaning we come to you and online real time, we collect your cash, we help you to make your bill payments. Then and there you get the SMS alert, cash deposited, no risk at all. We will take it. So and within that actually we were targeting mainly SME business bank, small timers. But interestingly, that really helped us to even get some unbanked population into banking, like trishaw drivers.
Right.
Interestingly, we have 2 million trishaw drivers. So some of these customers from this segment, they have become our good customers, and their daily wages and they're saving sometimes a big amount, like you and I can't save per day.
Damitha, would you be able to give us a product that has been launched that you thought the bank needed it more than the customer needed it? Is there a product out there?
I think when I look back, maybe our retail online banking platform.
Okay.
So it was, we thought it was a good product, and but we didn't see the traction. And when we really dig deep, that didn't cater into the customers' real needs, because the nowadays, and we looked at the profile. Now, the interestingly, the profile of our internet bank in the desktop version mainly used by 52, maybe the retire age or about to retire, so that kind of a segment.
Right.
So their expectation was simplified uh, user journeys, not many features, not the cluttered dashboard. So very simple one. But I think that is where we identified that, but we immediately corrected it with our mobile app. We actually introduced the newest version of the online banking platform for the segment. So that has given us results. So if I may recall, I think this is one of the key learnings
Right.
from our product suite.
It's especially being in fintech, right? I mean, there's so many different ideas that actually come about, and there is always this optimal balance that you need to strike with individuals who are actually coming up with the ideas, and individuals who can possibly market these ideas, because the tech guys love coming up with tech stuff, because it's cool, it's great, but will they use it is a different question, In terms of NDB, it's always a question before the fact that do you put the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart, right? Do you actually wait for a demand of a product and then create the solution, or do you create the solution and then create the demand for that?
My answer is both. Now, as you correctly said, fintech is a very interesting space.
Right.
Now, being bankers, predominantly we are uh, governed by a lot of regulations, circulars. So it's a different ball game. Even when we think about our products or solutions, mostly we mainly use our left brain.
Right.
Maybe more than yes, we think about how obviously we save our bank or customers. I mean, but the first thing that comes to our mind is the regulations part.
Right.
But the fintechs, they don't know anything about it. So they are very much innovative, and they just looking at the problem and they come up with this product.
Right.
So I think what we need to do, what we have realized is that we can make a synergy impact by partnering. The collaboration is a way forward. So there were certain instances that we explored those options. At the same time, so basically that will help us to drive our innovation part. So if we really, if we see something really cool, and sometimes even they don't know whether it's cool, but we can see, okay, this kind might be a good option or solution for one of the maybe key pain points that our customers, what we have identified.
Right.
So that's one way. On the other side, there is a demand, but due to some reason, no one has thought about a product or the solution to bridge that gap. So then that's an opportunity for us to seize it and then squeeze it. So
Right.
that is where, so it's a, I would say it's a both the
Yeah.
options so
Right.
on the table. But being a banker, more than we do things on our own, Sheikh, I think one of the maybe success stories of NDB, I think some of the other banks are also doing it. So we are always open for a collaboration rather than getting everything designed or developed on our own. We always look at the market, and there are some great product solutions. If so, we always look at how we can integrate into our platform and then give a better solution, because that will create more value to the customers. End of the day, customers don't care whether it's NDB or another product, as long as they get the right value for the right price.
Something that people, I suppose, don't necessarily understand is the fact that as far as our banking system is concerned and banking technological system is concerned, we are pretty good, compared to most of the other countries. We're pretty good because not many people actually, for example, have like immediate transfers also that's actually happening in other countries, right? I mean, it's a classic example is the fact that if there is an X amount of money that needs to be sent from a European country, right, where my sons are, as a matter of fact, and if they need to send me some money, I need to wait for 48 hours, because and it is not from our side either. It's actually from their side where the whole process happens. But we internally, in terms of certain banking stuff and certain products that is available, we're quite good, we're quite fast, but people don't seem to realize that because they haven't experienced something that's happening outside.
Yes.
But we need to also appreciate the lots of stuff that the bankers or the community has actually gone through to make a lot of these things quite fast also.
You're absolutely right. I think we need to recognize Central Bank
Yeah.
of Sri Lanka as well as the Lanka Pay,
Right.
a subsidiary of Central Bank. We have one of the greatest platforms when it comes to payments and settlement. As you said, the SEFT,
Yeah.
instant transfer.
Instant transfer.
And even not only that, they have introduced a platform, fantastic platform, where all the apps, financial apps, can be connected. For example, let's say I'm an NDB customer, but I do have account with other bank, let's say Commercial, Sampath, NDB. If I want today, I can attach those 3 or 4 accounts into my NDB app, and vice versa.
Right.
So that is mainly because of the JustPay platform which is available now. So some of these fintechs in Sri Lanka actually getting maximum usage of this JustPay platform, and they come up with some innovative products. I have seen, even as you correctly said, developed countries that are yet to get into this area.
True.
Maybe apart from Singapore, India. Even if you take India, until very recently, they had multiple QR codes.
Right.
QR, yes, adoption is very high. The usage is very high. That's of course because of Aadhaar and other factors. But when Sri Lanka, when we designed this, again, thanks to the previous 2 organizations, they have developed a single QR. And today we see benefits. The QR recently being tied up with Indian customers, so that Indian tourists who are coming in, they can just make their payments through their apps because that Lanka QR is connected with the Indian QR. So these are some of the good things which sometimes customers also don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I think payment side, Sri Lanka is well ahead. Maybe what we are lacking or what we need to do is coming up with this super app, because I'm sure you have traveled a lot, but if you go to Singapore recently, the Grab app like that,
Yeah.
the moment you even land, you can just download it, you attach your credit card. From there onwards, you can do everything through that.
That's right.
Maybe hotel booking, train booking, anything. So that's the kind of level, so that how it is possible, even ordering food, because they have come up with it's a kind of a super banking or the super app, everything within one platform. So that is where I think the bankers or the app should drive in terms of financial. That will cover entire customer life cycle of the touch points.
There's a lot that we can definitely do in Sri Lanka, and of course the markets are really opening up for us because we are also in a position where we can actually learn from other countries who've tried it and failed, so we don't necessarily have to go down that same route either. So there's lots that we can actually do. As far as NDB is concerned, a lot of people think that banking products are built and just basically released. Okay, but how important is the marketing layer of these products that needs to actually be pushed to the public out there without it just sitting there? Now, for example, if we take certain apps in certain fintechs or certain banking products or whatever, they're there. That's all they are. They're there. You know what I'm saying? But there is a need for it, but that need is not necessarily created or it's not marketed out there. How do you work around that?
You're absolutely right. Actually, when I heard about this innovation, there is a digital world, we use this fail fast, fail cheap. That just came to my mind. Yes, so marketing is critically important. what we do actually, while we now see before we start, we of course identify a problem or the pain point, and when we design, it will go through the designing space, and of course there will be a little test of the market. We get customers' feedback even through the iteration process. So all that is done, but in the development stage itself, we then start talking about we get the marketing team involved, because without getting the message across to the targeted segment, any product, we can have a fantastic product with a solution, but we will not get the expected ROI or the benefits. So to do that, there are today, I'm sure Shaq, now you have become one of the most successful maybe podcast because of the power of YouTube.
Yeah.
The digital social media is very powerful today. So we were one of the first banks to, I think maybe the first bank to introduce, we are on TikTok.
Right.
And we just, I think, crossed, we have more than 100,000 subscribers in our YouTube channel. So marketing has identified very early stage the power or the over the social media, and also the other mediums. For example, certain activities, now we need to go above the line on certain products if we want to address it to, I mean, understanding the Sri Lankan structure, the culture, and the people, still they watch TV, radio, etc. But when it comes to youth product, or when it comes to certain products, our presence should be in certain other segment category. So to answer your question, yes, marketing is very important, and we get our internal marketing team, and also we liaise with our external partners like you and others, influencers, and we get them, and we actually get their expertise and to support us to how best that we could take this product to the market. And so far we have some success stories. Of course, there were some learnings as well in this journey. So challenge is, as I mentioned, you fail fast but fail cheap. But again, you understand or identify what happened, maybe learn from that fast, and then move ahead with this game.
What does success look like in terms of a successfully launched digital product? What does it look like for you and your team? Are you looking at feedback? Are you looking at transaction? Are you looking at volume? What is success of a digital product?
Yes, there are a few key things, but mainly the customer satisfaction.
Right.
We are going to measure it actually, the Net Promoter Score, NPS, and the CSAT, the customer satisfaction. So that is critical, because if we get these two things right, and also the customer user journeys should be seamless. Once you get those things right, for me, success means the more adoption. I think we started this conversation with that. I can have a fantastic app, but if customers are not using it, it doesn't make any sense. When the adoption is high or increasing, then I'll get my volumes, the value, the number of transactions, the fee income, and even the CASA benefit. Everything happens in a seamless manner.
Right.
So for me, yes, because we are a customer-centric organization, so we really need to understand what customers think about our products, digital products, whether they're happy, and that constructive feedback is constantly we want to obtain so that we can refine our products. On the other side, the adoption. So as I mentioned earlier, more than the penetration, currently what we are focusing is the adoption. Now, even in Sri Lanka, Shek, as you may be aware, though our literacy rates are very high, when it comes to financial literacy, I think it's about 60%. So we have a room for improvement. That is the awareness. We need to create more awareness about products, the digital, because just because we have the highest penetration level of the mobile or maybe the internet access, that is not the financial literacy.
Right.
That covers a lot how securely you need to use your password, the user IDs, the OTP. I mean, because at times people get into trouble, the customers get in trouble because they do not follow those best practices.
Right.
So that I see we still have, we need to improve there. So I think from NDB and from bank's community, we are doing a lot of things, of course, with the central bank, Lanka Pay, etc. But I think maybe this is, I think we discussed this earlier also before we came into this session. Maybe the Sri Lankan school,
Of course, yeah.
yes, that
The
should be,
education system, of course, is the
system
same.
also should have this digital.
I mean, because these are attributes of life,
Exactly.
in terms of basically once you get out of school, everybody needs a bank account.
Yes.
Everybody needs a banking system, but you need to understand the banking system. Just like you said, lots of people out there, I'm sure 9 out of 10 people use banks only to deposit and withdraw.
Yes.
But they don't necessarily know the attributes that are available with a banking and financial system. You can't blame them because they're not informed about it, and it's not the bank's job to inform them about it either. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't possibly tell the bank, tell the people out there, we have X, Y, Z product. But my question is this though: with the rise in fintech products, with the number of features that banks are adding to their own apps, why do we still see people going into banks?
Okay, number of reasons. Maybe when they want to get some financial advices, I think it's still the human touch is very powerful.
Right.
Uh, yes, AI is coming up, the chatbots are available, but it's nothing like, let's say, you want to have a structured plan. Maybe you want to plan out your kids' education, or maybe loan, business loan,
Right.
maybe a housing loan.
Right.
So mostly in Sri Lankan culture, still people prefer to have a one-on-one chat and understand the bankers to understand the customer's problem or the need, and then come up with a better solution. So even our digital strategy, we have not forgotten that fact, because it's a uh, phygital culture,
Right.
physical plus digital.
Right.
At the same time, Shai, if you look at the transactions, actually most of the transactions are now performing on digital channels.
Okay.
Not only NDB, I think almost all other banks.
Right.
But yes, we do see people coming in, and we don't see it as problem as well, because that will give us sometimes, yes, in case if the customer is not using the app, that is a good time for us to uh, educate them, the
Right.
customer, and we make use of that opportunity, and also we can actually cross-sell other products and services as well, sometimes better than digital platform. So this I see, but I do not know, maybe at least from the NDB's perspective, statistics, we have seen when it comes to transactions, almost 85-90% of transactions are now happening on digital platforms.
Right.
So that is a huge number. But at the same time, interestingly, as you rightly mentioned, we have also observed some customers' behavior. Now, for example, today we all know your debit card, basically you can make any purchases using the POS machine, debit
Right.
card. But interestingly, some customers still go to ATM or the CRM, and they withdraw money, and then they take cash to the shop and they make their payment. So that gap is still there.
Yeah.
But I think it's getting reduced. So the more diginatives like your son, my son and daughters, so when they get into this picture, because I don't think they are looking at the whole banking. Of course, it's a boring subject for them. So they will be on apps. They are already they are aware of what is going on in the market. They know about neobanks. They are talking about the digital currencies. They know most of the stuff which are not even available in Sri Lanka.
Sure.
So that is going to be a very dynamic, very vibrant future, and it is evolving. So we are also excited about it. And so now itself, our target is to how we can grab this customer, the future digital customer, at an early stage, and go through the life cycle with them while catering into their ever-changing demands.
10, 15 years ago, banking was a really boring subject, right?
Definitely.
Because thing is, you just have to sit down, and it's just too complicated, and numbers and all that stuff. I mean, it's now obviously with the fintech coming into play, with lots of facilities and features that are coming into play. It's very interesting. It really is interesting. Going back to what you said, that lots of people obviously still take the debit cards, go to the ATM, pull out the cash, and make that payment, purely because of the fact that those merchants are not accepting cards. That's another problem that we actually also have. Because there are still merchants out there who still stick this cash only policy.
Yes.
Because it doesn't favor them at the end of the day. So yes, going forward, the new generation that is going to come in, that is actually going to be sitting in decision making positions in different companies and corporates, are going to really push for this cashless society. But in order for us to basically get into a cashless society, our infrastructure again has to sort of be, it has to be solid. It's nice talking about a cashless society, but if our infrastructure really isn't, solid enough, I don't think we'll ever get there.
Absolutely right. Now, this has actually, so we, as bankers, being a banking community, we constantly need to challenge the status quo and then constantly reimagine, rethink our business and our model. As you correctly mentioned, whether some of the transactions, whether we should 0% without margin,
right,
to drive the adoption. So those are, I think we are on the right path, because I have already seen some good changes are happening in the market. Some banks have already gone into 0% QR, or even the lesser merchant commission, and then POS machines used to be very costly affair, 75,000 rupees to 100,000, but now there are many other solutions,
right,
which are very cost effective. So I think the industry, wise, there are some developments, but yes, it will take time. Overnight you will not move the needle, but it will take some time. But the more, and also one of the best things, I think, as you know, the current, even the present government, digital, they have identified as a critical pillar.
Right.
So one of the main challenges that we are facing is not having a digital ID. Now, if you really look at the digital transformation as a country, the Aadhaar, that their digital ID had really helped them.
Right.
So I think hopefully if we get that product out within next 2 years, we can see a lot of developments even in terms of the economy. It may be some of the funding that will happen to the rural folks of the needy community. There are a lot of other corruptions. We can make it to zero. And even the onboarding side, just imagine as a customer, you and I have to, how many documents that we ask from customers. So even being a customer, to open an account, it will be another headache. But when you have everything in one card, the one reference number, everything you can connect with any bank, any app within few seconds.
Right.
So that's the power of some of the products that are in the pipeline. And let's wish those things will be there. So I think our digital transformation, that will immensely help even the country's progress as well.
Fabulous. Damitha, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was an absolute pleasure to actually speak to you and find out in terms of NDB especially, and also in terms of the fintech and the features that actually have been sort of helping. And one thing that we really wanted to basically, we really did touch on, is the fact that at which point do you actually introduce a feature? Do you introduce a feature before the demand is there? Or do you actually see that there is a demand that's actually coming up in about 2 months of time, and you introduce a feature just in right time for that demand to sort of settle in? It's a give and take, I suppose, at the end of the day, but it's been fabulous. Thanks a lot, Damitha, for being a part of the show for us today.
Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you all the very best in your program.
Thank you so much. It's Damitha, of course, from NDB, and of course, some great insights into exactly the features that banks that actually include in their apps and so many other facilities. The most important thing is the fact that it's great when fintech and banks come up with features, but at the end of the day, it's the customers out there who really need to embrace these features. and you need to adopt these features. If you don't embrace them, if you don't adopt them, are those features successful or not? That's something that we need to basically figure out as we move along. We've got more great insights from stakeholders who obviously use digital, use information technology, use technology in their respective industries, coming up right here on Meet the Tech Titans Season 2, which is brought to you by Hutch. We'll see you soon.